Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Play, Pause, Rewind, episode 126. We are back once again to talk about movies and TV shows. Niles, how have you been the last couple weeks since our previous episode?
You know, I've been good, counting every day that I can and just counting every win that I can. And I feel like that's what you got to do in this crazy, crazy fucked up world that we're living in. Where oil prices are going up, everything's falling apart. what can you really do to stop it all? So, but I'm doing just fine. Dylan, how are you these days?
Oh, so hanging in there, doing okay. Once again, thoughts and prayers with the people of Iran. We have committed ecocide in Tehran, unfortunately. Hopefully this conflict comes to a swift end and the people responsible for it are brought to justice in court of law. That's the best we can hope for at this point. Personally, whatever. It's fine. I'm doing okay, I guess. But yeah, we're gonna talk about a movie this week, as we like to do. This week we are talking about a new film by Maggie Gyllenhaal called The Bride, and written and directed by Maggie Gyllenhaal. The Bride takes inspiration from the film The Bride of Frankenstein and Mary Shelley's original novel, Frankenstein, and injects it with a sort of 1930s Bonnie and Clyde twist. The film stars Jessie Buckley, Christian Bale, Peter Skarsgaard, Annette Benning, Jake Gyllenhaal, and Penelope Cruz. Niles, what are your initial non-spoilery thoughts on The Bride?
You know, I'm conflicted on this movie overall, honestly, but what I will say to start off with, I really enjoyed the originality and creativity on display in The Bride. I think it's very strong in that regard. It's a big risk. It's a big swing. And I applaud it for that. You know, we've said it before on this podcast time and time again. We don't want to just see sequels and endless franchises. Like, we want to see original and innovative films in cinemas. That's like what keeps cinema interesting, and we don't just want to see more of the same. We want to see new things. And The Bride, it does lean on kind of this existing IP, on, you know, the story of Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein too. But it injects its own originality, like a great deal of originality and thought into the premise. I think it's very thoughtful in that way, and it's incredibly refreshing and unique, I will say. Unfortunately, like I said, I am conflicted by this movie because I really like the concept of The Bride. I think there's a lot of things that work really well in this movie. Like, I think the costume design is spectacular. Like, the sets, the environment, it feels like the 1930s. It looks really cool. It's very stylized. The aesthetics are beautiful. Like, it kind of feels like an art film at some points, just like the shots, and it's like, it just looks beautiful. I really love it. The characters and the performances by Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale are really phenomenal, I would say. I think that they're like the glue that holds this story together, and they're like the soul of it, obviously, but they're really good. And I think the narrative and the story overall is pretty decent. Unfortunately, I just don't think that Maggie Gyllenhaal's vision like translated as well as that she wanted it to. I just don't think it I just don't think it really comes to fruition in this movie, unfortunately. I just think that there's some pieces that are a little clunky and confusing, unfortunately, and there's some things that just feel a little tonally inconsistent, and some things just are a little underdeveloped, I would say, or not explored enough. But great performances. They're stellar by these two leads, and I think they're, like I said, some very neat visuals, and I think it's technically a beautiful film. It's just a little sloppy at points, unfortunately. But what are some of your initial thoughts, Dylan?
I feel very similarly. I have mixed feelings on this. Like, we may have talked about this in previous episodes, but we definitely talked about it in the theater when the trailer would play. It's like, this is either gonna be like complete dog shit or an incredible movie. I really felt like it was gonna be one of those two things. I was wrong. I do not agree with that assessment anymore. Like, on the one hand, I enjoyed watching it. I thought it was a really entertaining experience. Like you were alluding to, the production design is amazing. The sets, the costumes, the music, everything about it is like a very rich experience. On the other hand, the movie does not work, I don't think. I'm not sure if the story is good. There were, like you said, some, I think, good performances and very interesting acting decisions from Christian Bale, especially. Like, he really goes out on a limb with this portrayal of Frank, this version of Frankenstein's monster, and it's really enjoyable to watch. And like,
yes,
the style of it really carries a lot of the movie, I think. But thematically, it introduces a lot of interesting things that I liked a lot and I wanted to see more of. But the problem is we don't get that more. I don't feel like it really ever sticks the landing on honestly anything it introduces. But it's a fun time. I'm glad it exists. I cannot say it's good, and I don't really. I would say a very soft recommendation from me. Like, if you want to see a big swing that is enjoyable to experience but doesn't hit the mark, go for it. I would say go see it. But if you want like the best version of this premise, which is what I was hoping for, this is not it. Any final non-spoiler thoughts on Bride before we hop into spoilers?
Yeah, I was like doing research on like Reddit, just like digging, like what do other people think? What do other people think about this? And I think there's a lot of people who are kind of in agreement with us, at least from what I was seeing. And a lot of the comments that I was seeing, it's like the positive reviews are saying like it's a mess, but a good mess. And then like the bad reviews are like it's a bad mess, full stop. Like there's like but there's I don't think there's like a lot of people who will like put this up on like like the award shelf and be like, this is pinnacle of cinema. I don't think that a lot of people are going to do that, unfortunately. But I think it depends on who you are, I suppose. But I could see this movie becoming a cult classic over time, kind of like down the road. People, I think, will appreciate it over time.
Yeah, I will say too, before we get into spoilers, but I saw a comparison between this movie and Joker 2. I have not seen Joker 2, but I have seen Joker. I have seen Joker 1, and I do see some similarities to Joker 1 in regards to the plot, and I will say, I'll go out on a limb and say, I enjoyed this a lot more than I liked Joker. That's not very high praise for me, but people like Joker, and I think this is better than that.
Sure, I get that. I was seeing a lot of those comments too. They were like, lots of people were expecting this to be like Joker 2, and yeah, I think some people were surprised it wasn't like that. For sure. Not as much singing, that's for sure. Just at least one musical number.
That's true. It does have that. Do you want to get into spoilers?
Let's do it. Let's jump on in to spoilers.
All right. So I'll start off with a positive here. The premise itself, I think, like taking the Bride of Frankenstein and injecting it with like a dose of a Bonnie and Clyde riff. I like this idea. I think it's a lot of fun. It's a fun concept, and like the idea of the Frankenstein's monster existing in the 1930s and doing this type of stuff. I really bought into that. I liked it a lot.
Me too. Yeah, I think this is a terrific concept. I'm 100% invested in it. I'm behind it. I think this is something that I just really haven't considered before. Like take this classic kind of novel, Frankenstein, and just put it into a different time period like this, and I think it works really well. And it's not even like a straightforward adaptation. It's totally kind of its own thing. I think it's a great concept, but yeah, I think the execution, there's some things that don't fully translate. It leaves something to be desired, I will say. But premise is great.
Yeah, I agree. And there's some like references and homages to previous adaptations. You want to run through those real quick too?
Yes, absolutely. And this is by no means an exhaustive list. We only I've only seen it the one time, so I'm sure on the rewatch there I would pick up on some other things that'd be like, "Oh, that's awesome! I'm
Mm-hmm.
so glad that they included that." And I will also say that I do not have like an encyclopedic knowledge on the original Frankenstein film or the Bride of Frankenstein. I actually don't think I've even seen the Bride of Frankenstein, admittedly, so I need to see that someday. But
Same.
uh, there are some interesting homages here. I've seen Young Frankenstein a million times, so I can tell you those ones for sure. Uh, there's
Mm-hmm.
a great bit in The Bride where the band, I can't remember exactly where they are. They're in Chicago or New York or something like that. And this band starts playing Putting on the Ritz at one point, and Frank yells out the
Mm-hmm.
line as well, and he dances like the monster kind of does in the Young Frankenstein movie. And it's like, I'm so happy they included that. That is such a great detail, and not everyone will get it, but yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like because there's that great bit in Young Frankenstein where the monster's like dancing on stage, but he's just like he's not saying the words very clearly. It sounds more like "put on the roots." It just doesn't. It's just silly. um, and
Mm-hmm.
I there's like this pronunciation too of like there's that joke of like it's Frankenstein, not Frankenstein. They say that multiple
Mm-hmm.
times in Young Frankenstein, and they have like kind of this a few moments in The Bride where they're like riffing on the pronunciation as well. And I think those were fun little details.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that there's others that I missed, but I appreciated those little references and homages.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, another thing too that we haven't
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, surprising for us, not related to the content of the movie itself, but this is a Dark Knight reunion.
It
This is
is.
this is Bruce and Rachel together again,
You're
director and
so
actor.
right. Mm-hmm.
Just a funny thing. I don't remember if they've collaborated since 2008. Honestly, I'd have to look it up, but I don't think they have actually. So
Yeah,
fun little
I don't think they have
little
either.
tidbit
But that,
there.
yeah, good point. Um, Go figure. Yeah, I was interesting to see like I wasn't expecting it. I don't know why I didn't expect it, but Jake Gyllenhaal pops up in this movie as like that the movie star character, and it's like, oh, cool. The
Mm-hmm.
Gyllenhaal is in here for in his sister's film. That's awesome. I
Yeah,
love
it's her
that too.
brother.
Exactly. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but Jake Gyllenhaal, like he's an example of something we'll talk about thematically in a little bit, but like the whole men inflicting violence on women element of this movie, because Penelope, the bride, Ida, kind of like at a certain point, like points a gun at him, and he's on his knees. He says, "I'm sorry," right? And there's like, and her response is like, what are you sorry for? Like, did you do something you thought you'd get away with?" And like it's part of the broader theme of that, but it kind of makes you think like, oh, did he do something that's going to come back later? Is he going to be one of the people that's exposed by this movement or something like that? And then he's not in the movie after that. You know, he's just gone. And I think his character is kind of an encapsulation of part of why that theme doesn't really land. But we'll talk about that more in a little bit after we talk about the performances, if you want to dive into that.
Absolutely, I do. So yeah, like I said at the top, in non spoilers, we have some great great performances here from
Mm-hmm.
Jessie Buckley and Christian Bale. I think they are both excellent in these roles. Like they really commit to it and they carry the movie through. So I think that they both did a fantastic job here. And I think Jessie, she's really the standout performance.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, because it's the bride, so it's not called Frank, it's called the bride. So she needs to be better, and she was. I think she did a very good job. I think it was very well executed. I like the character trait where she just kind of like uh, kind of breaks into like this expansive vocabulary all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden, and she just like is rambling on, listing all these like really like complex words, and it's like, oh, cool. I just really appreciated that, like, because it's like Mary's breaking into her psyche, and I just appreciated how she was playing that. And you know, I feel like she's kind of playing two different characters
Mm-hmm.
simultaneously at the start, like Ida and Mary kind of conflicting with each other, but then over time she starts to develop a little bit more of an identity and kind of personality that's different. But yeah, I think great performances.
Yeah, and I think I agree. And like I said earlier, like Christian Bale especially makes some really big performance swings here, right? And I want to check because I think yeah, so Jessie Buckley is playing Mary Shelley as well. I don't know if you knew that, but she is
Yes.
yeah. And so yeah, she she demonstrates a lot of range by playing those multiple characters. I want to talk about Mary Shelley's inclusion a little bit later too, because I have a lot of thoughts on that. But yeah, the performances, and I enjoyed all the performances. Honestly, I thought it was a well acted movie. I liked the scenes with Frank and Annette Benning's character, where they're kind of talking about the like ethics of doing what he wants to do, and I also like his hesitance about Ida specifically. She's like, no, she's too pretty. Like, this doesn't feel right. Like he was trying to like, I don't know. I guess he was like trying to be feminist about it. It's like, don't pick me like the just, stereotypically hottest person to be my, undead bride or whatever. He was trying to do, but he fell short, I suppose. I don't know. But
right.
The performances I had no problems with. I enjoyed them. I liked Christian Bale making his weird faces and like smiling widely and nodding as the bride does whatever she's gonna do next. But the thing that I thought about this movie that was a really, really interesting choice that didn't work, and I really wanted it to, was there's a theme about like women taking power back from the powerful men who have wronged them and inflicted violence on them and taken advantage of them. Like, it was an idea I was really clicking with, and I wish it was fleshed out more because it like as executed, it feels like an afterthought. And I don't think it was an afterthought, but it's implemented so haphazardly that it does not feel cohesive and it doesn't feel like a thesis at all. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I would agree with you 100% there. Because yeah, I think that this theme of like female empowerment and also just like fighting back against male oppressors and just this general theme of like violence against women, it feels like a very integral part of the film, right? Especially when you think about the bride in kind of a wider context of like bodily autonomy, the ethics that they were talking about in this movie too, where it's like, is it really ethical to just reanimate someone, build someone just to be your companion for life? It's like there's some ethical issues here. But then, yeah, like to your point with the whole women standing up for themselves and fighting back against people who have wronged them. I agree with you there because I wish that they spent a little bit more time exploring this female revolution and spent more time on this. Because we see like this moment in the film too, where the bride has this monologue at that event where the putting on the Ritz event, she has this monologue about the violence and everything. And exactly what we were just talking about, Jake Gyllenhaal's character. She has this monologue and it kind of sparks this revolution, like this female revolution across the country. And we get like a old timey 1930s, like news bit talking about it, like women around the country are standing up to men, kind of vibe. And I think it's presented so quickly and in such a minor way that it just feels underwhelming in that regard. Like we see some visuals, but it's just like women tattooing their faces and their tongues, wearing pantyhose over their heads and firing guns in the air, and that's kind of it. So I kind of wish they took it a little further. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I do. I like there are parts of that I like. Like I like that Annette Benning's character's assistant, I suppose, she later on has the mark on her face. I'm like, oh, because she was kind of pushing back against the idea early on and all that stuff. I like that, but it's just, I wanted more. The movie could have been about this, and it's. I think in intent it is. In practice, it's not. It doesn't, or it just doesn't land. It doesn't work because And I had this note a little bit later on, but it's like I would have liked to know more about how Penelope, the bride, felt about being this inspiration to other people, and I think they read the paper maybe at one point and look at it, but they don't have a lot to say about it beyond that.
Yeah.
So
exactly. Yeah. It kind of feels like an afterthought in some ways. And I think this theme kind of runs hand in hand with the idea of female empowerment here too. And bless you.
Thank you.
Bless you, sir.
Oh, thanks.
I think these themes get a little lost, especially kind of the female empowerment piece when we talk about her identity. Like I feel like for a good portion of this film, she's trying to figure out who she is. She's trying to understand her past. She's asking all these questions about like, what was I like before the accident? What was the accident? Were we engaged before then? Like, how did this happen? Like, she's just trying to find the pieces to her life. And like in the third act, she really starts to learn the truth about her past and who she was and how she came to be with Frank. And she eventually kind of decides on this name, the bride. Like, she's like, this is my identity. This is who I am. And I think this name is better than just calling yourself the Bride of Frankenstein, right? It's better because it's like, well, it's not because I'm dependent upon this person.
Yeah.
And you're not deriving your whole identity from your relationship with this person. But I still don't like that her identity as the bride is still tied to the concept of marriage.
Okay.
I think it would have been more empowering if she had chosen a different name, like Mary, even. I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas, but like, she literally modeled a lot of her identity off the author, like the voice in her head that's been guiding her this whole time. So I don't know. I just feel that they kind of missed the mark with the identity thing a little bit.
Yeah, I want to come back to that specific note when we talk about Mary Shelley in a second, but like to piggyback off of that too, and the concept of like powerful men taking advantage of women. Like you have this whole situation too where Frank is one of the men who does something wrong. Like he brings this woman back to life and he lies to her about her past and their relationship in order to like sort of slot her into this role. And they're like, there's a moment where after he confesses that she's mad at him and it seems like they're going to start having this falling out. And then he gets shot and he dies. And then he's dead for the rest of the movie. And she drags him back to Annette Benning's place, and then when they're resurrected, they're good. They're holding hands again. It's like, okay, so the plot robbed the characters of having a real emotional confrontation about this pretty like horrific act of dishonesty that Frank engaged in, right? Like that should have been that would have been an interesting point for their relationship to fall apart and for the bride to find out who she was outside of her relationship with Frank, or a moment of reconciliation where they come out the other end stronger together, which is what happens, but not through character conflict. Yeah, really, in my opinion, at least. I don't know. How do you feel about that part?
Yeah, I feel like it's a little underwhelming there as well. I agree with everything that you just said there too. Like I feel like they needed more conflict between the our protagonists, just straight up, because he was lying to her the whole time and he just basically gets off with no consequences. So I don't know. I think there could have been more conflict there for like a better emotional payoff, more satisfying for the audience. I agree there.
Yeah, I want to talk about the inclusion too of Mary Shelley herself, the author, the real life author of the book Frankenstein. She is in this movie as both a narrator, which is one aspect of it, but also a possessor of Ida / Penelope. The movie starts with Mary Shelley. She's talking to us, telling us about how she really wants to like tell this other story. And then she possesses Ida, and Ida starts having these like spasms and blurting out words that are outside of her control. This did not work for me. Just full stop. It didn't work for me at all. I don't think the idea of Penelope being possessed by Mary Shelley really adds anything to her story. And I also feel like it robbed her of a lot of agency, because at certain points, Mary Shelley just hijacks her life and starts speaking for her in a different accent. She's saying words that Ida wouldn't say, or that Penelope wouldn't say, or would say, but in a different way. And it's just like, I understand Mary Shelley is also a female character in the concept of the movie, but it's like, this is kind of coming off as a movie about feminism and female empowerment, and yet we are routinely robbing our female main character of her own agency and having her body be hijacked by another person. I don't get it. I don't like it at all. It's the worst part of the movie for me.
Yeah, I see your points, and I'm kind of in agreement with you, because honestly, it is very confusing. It's a big risk for this movie. And not just the points that you were talking about. Like, it is very confusing from that standpoint, but I think it also, I'm going to get very analytical here. It creates a paradoxical kind of catch-22 type of situation here. I know in movies I'm supposed to kind of suspend my disbelief for a little bit and not really think too critically about things, because if you think two steps beyond the logic of the movie, it starts to break apart and it's not fun anymore. But I can't help myself with this, because Mary Shelley was a real person. And she's the author of this story, and they're including her as a character and narrator. She's simultaneously a narrator and character, causing the psychotic break in our protagonist. To me, that implies that Mary Shelley was a real person in the world of the Bride. Okay? And then we simultaneously, like, after she has her psychotic break and everything, so not simultaneously, whatever, we learn that Dr. Frankenstein was a real person in the context of this movie as well, because the monster, Frank, is real as well. I have so many questions. This leads me to so many significant paradoxical diegetic questions. So, one, did Mary Shelley write and publish Frankenstein in this world? Was it fiction? Was it nonfiction? Or is this a stranger than fiction type situation where she wrote the story and then it happened by chance, like outside of her control? Like, what is this? I'm so confused. And like, if her book was published, was it widely distributed and read by audiences? Has Frank read it? Has Ida or Penelope read this book? Was it widely acclaimed? Like, I just have so many questions now. Like, it confounds me.
Yeah, I sort of agree. And like, yes, it poses questions, right? It's like, and it could be a lot of things, right? It could be that Mary Shelley's story sort of materialized these characters into being, or people know Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which is why Annette Benning's character, whose name I keep forgetting, is like, oh, you're Victor Frankenstein's monster, sure. Like, and maybe they don't believe the real story, or Mary Shelley was documenting the real story but wrote it as fiction, or whatever. Like, that part specifically didn't bother me in and of itself, but I think it does pose those questions to you, the viewer, and it distracts from the story that's actually being told, and it doesn't really add a whole lot, in my opinion. Like, anytime you spend thinking of the logistics of Mary Shelley and Victor Frankenstein both being existent in this world is time you're not spending emotionally engaging with the characters in the story. I do also think maybe there was a desire to include Shelley as a character because she's like a very important figure, as the woman credited with sort of essentially creating modern science fiction. Maybe there's like an angle trying to play into female empowerment there, but I feel like the diegetic inclusion of her as a character is a disservice to the story, at least in the way she's used. I did also hear, I was listening to the Weekly Planet this morning, and someone wrote in the letters segment that Mary Shelley, at least in a narrator role, is a feature of the film The Bride of Frankenstein. So could have been a reference to that as well. But narrator is one thing. Actively possessing the protagonist at multiple points in the story is another. And I think, like, I wouldn't have minded the narrator part as much. Like, especially if it was just bookending the story. The way they did it, though, it just doesn't work for me. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that is an interesting note. I appreciate you bringing that in too about the Bride of Frankenstein. I did not know about that. That's an interesting thing. The one other thing that I will say on Mary's inclusion in this story, though, is, again, getting very technical here. During her opening monologue, she states that it's something along the lines of something like this, where she says, like, the bride is the story that she wanted to actually tell. She didn't really want to tell Frankenstein. She wanted to tell this story instead, or something like this. And I don't claim to be an expert on Mary Shelley, so I'm not familiar with what her political beliefs were or any of that stuff. Like, I'm unsure if the statement was even true or if it was just included to justify the plot. Either way, I think it is believable to assume that Mary, the author, in real life wanted Frankenstein to be more female focused. I think you can definitely make the argument for that. However, given the time and the climate that she lived in, Mary obviously had to write the story from a male perspective, make it very male oriented. Like, if you pick up any book from that era and it's not a Bronte book like Wuthering Heights or one of the other Bronte books, I guarantee you, if you flip through that book, it's just entirely male focused. All the female characters are just like stuck in very rigid or traditional roles as like a homemaker, wife, or romantic interest. That's kind of all that they were at the time. So I can understand the perspective. If it's like she wanted to tell a story that was more female oriented, sure, I can believe that. The climate at the time probably didn't allow for it, but I don't fully buy into this perspective of Mary Shelley. Unfortunately, I'm kind of in a similar boat as you, Dylan. And again, getting very technical, in the final section of Frankenstein, or like the second half, there's a part where Dr. Frankenstein agrees to build a female companion for the monster, but then destroys it because he does not want to create this monstrous race that could procreate and potentially destroy mankind and everything like that. And I feel like that little piece of the book is fantastic. I think it's a great element for the novel. But, you know, she already kind of told this story about bodily autonomy and everything, just very short in the actual Frankenstein book. Just a thought.
And also, like, quick side note, check out our episode on Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein from last year. Yes. But like, and even beyond just the part about the never created Bride of Frankenstein in the book, like, Frankenstein in some ways has the themes of bodily autonomy with the creature himself. Like, he was, and we talk about this in our review. It's like, Victor likes the idea of creating a life, but he doesn't really have any interest in, helping that life, grow and exist and become human in a lot of ways. Like, he's obsessed with the idea of being able to do it, but doesn't want any of the responsibility associated with, in his case, being a father figure to this life he's created, right? And that's not quite autonomy, obviously, but it's like it's the reckless creation of something combined with the abdication of any responsibility that comes with that creation. I think we talked about AI a little bit in that context as well, if I remember correctly. It sounds like something I would do. But check out that review to make sure if I did. But one thing, transitioning a little bit like to another plot element, like the two detectives that are tracking them down.
Yes.
They were played by which Skarsgård was it? It was Peter Skarsgaard and Penelope Cruz. And I liked their dynamic. I thought the relationship between them was a lot of fun, and I kind of wish they'd been more of a focal point. They enter very late into the movie. But I like
Mm-hmm.
the little twist they have where, the trope is, the male detective has a female companion along for the ride, and she'll kind of like flirt a little bit with the people and kind of get their attention while the detective snoops around a little bit. I liked the inversion of that where Detective Wiles is the one who does the charming with the local police because like they're misogynist, they're sexist, and
Mm-hmm.
they're like, oh, he's the serious guy. We got to talk to him about the case. And then while he's doing that, doing his little bit, Penelope Cruz's character kind of does the real detective work on the side that and finds the things that the law
Mm-hmm.
enforcement is not willing to share with them. I thought that was very charming. That being said, we needed way more time with these two characters, and like they said this on the Weekly Planet as
Mm-hmm.
well, which I agree with. It's like maybe the movie is from their perspective the entire time, like, and they're because
Ooh.
honestly, I liked their dynamic more. I thought it was more fun to watch. Um, I like at the very least we
Okay.
needed more information and or emotional time about like Detective Wiles' work with Ida from before the plot started, right? Because that kind of just comes in, like it's hinted at, like he knows who she is, he lets her
Mm-hmm.
go, and then he's like, yeah, I was like working with all these girls to uncover this criminal conspiracy, and then a lot of them got killed, and I like they cut my case, so I had to let all the girls loose, and then like a lot of them died. Ida died. It's my fault, and it fucking sucks, and I'm resigning. It's like, holy shit, man, like I just met you and you're pouring out all this
Mm-hmm.
information on me. I don't have enough context to feel what I need to feel here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he just like trauma dumps at the end of the film, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like, could I have had that scattered a little more throughout the movie, please?
Mm-hmm.
Like just a little, some nuggets at the start, just plant the seed. I don't know, but I agree. I like both of these detective characters. I think they're fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
We needed more context with them and more time. They had a great dynamic for sure, and yeah, I like that. Penelope Cruz becomes the
Mm-hmm.
detective by the end of the movie too, and she's just like, she's assertive and she's like, this is who I am, I'm taking control of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
uh yeah, she's fantastic in this.
But
um
it's before we move on to just another thing, like
sure.
Wiles has that moment where he confesses all of this to Penelope Cruz and sort of like, I get to pick my successor. Here we go. It's you. And then he leaves the movie. He's done. And it would be,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like a moment like that would kind of benefit from, at the very end, he's Penelope Cruz's second in command and he helps in some way. He redeems himself a little bit.
Yes.
But no, apparently though there is a post-credit scene. Maybe he's in that. I don't know. They arrest the guy, the mobster guy in it, who's played by the guy who plays
Mm-hmm.
the Prime Minister of Israel in Superman, who Hawkgirl throws out of a building.
That's right. Yes. Yeah, I knew I recognized him from somewhere. I was like, I
Yeah,
know that guy. Where have I seen him before?
he's
Oh
he's David.
yeah. Yeah,
He's
he's in
David Ben Gurion.
trying he's in Triangle of Sadness too.
Oh,
He's like
you're right.
the fat
Yeah,
capitalist.
The Russian
Yeah.
guy, the capitalist
Yeah,
Russian who
he's awesome.
who like gets drunk with communist Woody Harrelson, the two best characters in that movie.
So true. That's so good. I will. I also picked up on like this theme of like media influences too. It wasn't
Mm-hmm.
super prevalent, but it was like something I wish that they built up a little more because Frank, the monster, he
Mm-hmm.
seems to be very heavily influenced by movies. He loves going to the movies. He goes
Mm-hmm.
to them like all the time. He's seen them multiple times because you can see him. He's like mouthing the words and he's dancing along and he sees himself in the movie as like one of the background characters dancing. He's like, he loves movies so much, especially the ones played by Jake Gyllenhaal's
Mm-hmm.
actor. Like he knows all the facts. He's like, that guy, he's got polio, and that's
Mm-hmm.
so one of his feet, is he needs like a extra lift in his shoe or
Right.
something like that. Like he knows all the facts. He loves the movies,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like his perception, at least in some part, his perception of romance and companionship is heavily influenced by these kinds of movies, like this traditional kind of Hollywood glam and this kind of aesthetic. And I think he kind of projects this idealized version of romance and relationships onto the bride. And like he wants it, like he really does want this kind of relationship, but it just never really, it's not going to be as traditional or glamorous as he thinks it would be. And I kind of wish they spent a little more time on that side of things too.
Yeah, I agree. I also like the way he thought of Gyllenhaal's character, because he's like, despite the circumstances of his birth and the hardships he goes through, it's from like, excuse me, from like a disease perspective, like he was able to build a normal life, not even a normal life, a great life, life of a loved person. And that's interesting. There's a scene too where he finally gets to meet him, and Gyllenhaal's like, okay, whatever, man. And we don't really see Frank have that much of a emotional reaction to that, I don't think. Like he kind of does for a moment. It doesn't really define his actions for the rest of the movie though. But also it kind of would have been nice maybe if the guy was like a little nicer to him. Maybe he's like, like that would have, because the way they interacted, it's like that's how you'd expect that interaction to go. It's like this guy he's looked up to and idolized. He meets him and he's a disappointment. He's a disappointment in a lot of ways. Like he's just a bit of a dick. It's like, okay, that's fine. You could have done something a little bit more interesting with it than that, in my opinion. But whatever. Who am I to judge?
Yeah, exactly. Just a couple of podcasters judging a movie. But we've been talking about this movie for a while, and I don't want to make it sound like we're super negative on it, because I do think there are some good things in here. But yeah, I just think it's kind of a little messy, a little sloppy, and unfortunately every headline that I see about this movie is saying that this movie's like, it's a box office flop, it's not doing very well at the box office, and which is disappointing, because like I said at the top, we want to see original movies, independent movies, things that just aren't sequels. We want to see cool, innovative things. And this one did take a very, very, very big swing. So it's a little disappointing to see that it's not doing well at the box office. But I am curious, Dylan, if you have any thoughts about why this movie maybe is not doing so well, or people are not, interested in seeing it. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a couple things. Like, one, it was kind of hard to get a read on this movie from the marketing. Like we said at the top of the show, that seeing the trailers, we were like, this is either going to be like a really fantastic fun time or just really, really bad. And it definitely landed somewhere in the middle. Critical response is somewhere in the middle. It's like a 60% or 50% or something on Rotten Tomatoes, 70% fan score. Like, I think for general audiences at this point in time, like for economic reasons, COVID fallout, just people not going to the movies as much, it's like audiences are, I would not say they're discerning, but they are pickier about what they go out to see. And there just was not enough. There wasn't enough in the actual marketing itself to hook people fully. And beyond that, there was not enough genuine, like generally positive word of mouth to get people to question their hesitancy up front. I'm also not sure, like, outside of seeing this before other movies, I'm not really sure how much marketing I even saw for it, to be fair. So there could be a lot of the general audience who doesn't know what the fuck this is. In terms of box office specifically too, like, we have to remember period piece movies are expensive to make, because you have to like, from a production design standpoint, you have to like make custom costumes for all of that. You can't just like get modern clothing. You have to make the sets, you have to get the vehicles to look right and all of this stuff, and that makes period pieces much more expensive to make. This is a premise that, like, it couldn't be made for the budget that probably would have made it profitable at this point in time. And I think that's
Sure.
There's not really a way around that, unless it just ended up being like a 10 out of 10 movie that everybody was like, you have to see this. And it's just not that. But what about you? What are your thoughts?
I agree with some of your reasons there. I think, marketing definitely has something to do with it. Because I think the only time I ever really saw a trailer for this was when we were going to the movies. Like, I never saw it, like, just scroll on YouTube or just, like, on my social feed. Like, I never saw any ads for this there. So I think the marketing is partly to blame here. But I think I'm going to go on a limb here, and I think part of it could be, like, Frankenstein fatigue.
Okay.
Maybe I'm using that very loosely, and I could be totally off base here, but there's a part of me that wonders if Guillermo del Toro did not just release his own very faithful, very excellent Frankenstein adaptation in 2025, just like, 6 months ago. I feel like maybe this movie could have done a little better, and just the fact that there's like 2 Frankenstein movies coming out very, very close to each other, I feel like that's gonna harm the second one a little bit more.
Okay.
But maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I would have loved for more people to have gone or to go see this, but at the same time, it's something I'm glad I saw, but it's not something I would, like, at happy hour recommend to, like, the people at the table. It's like, oh, you got to go see this. I don't think it'll work for a lot of people around me. So I don't know. I don't know. And like, going back to the premise, like, this is something I was excited to like, and I overall, it just doesn't click for me. And that's kind of a shame. But.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but if you're kind of interested in artsy aesthetic films that take big risks, that, again, it's Frankenstein and the Bride, Bonnie and Clyde style, 1930s. I think that's a great premise. If you're into that premise, I would say go see it for sure. But I don't think it's going to knock your socks off, unfortunately.
It could have leaned more into the Bonnie and Clyde stuff, other than aesthetics and them being on the run. It really didn't. There was also, I will say, like, and this was part of the theme, I understand, but, like, a lot of sexual assault and attempted sexual assault. And some of the scenes worked and were effective. Like the one where they're pulled over by the cop was really harrowing, I thought. But
yes,
I don't know. I feel like maybe the movie has a bit of an identity crisis a little bit. Like, it's like fun and goofy at times, and then also it's like attempted rape scenes at other times. It's just it's guys
push a girl down the stairs, and then a few minutes later they're putting on their Ritz.
Right. And like, well, that was the other thing too with the Mary Shelley possession is when Ida gets pushed down the stairs, the Mary Shelley possession was happening at the same time, and there was enough gray area where it's like, did Mary Shelley possessing her like cause her to fall? And I'm like, what's that saying? What's the why that?
Yeah.
Because did the guy push her? Because I thought he was just standing by her. I
cannot really remember at this point.
So I think that kind of sums it up right there, right? It's like, it is the mechanics of the plot intersect in ways that make it thematically confusing. And that's, I think, ultimately what I have to say about the movie. If you want an interesting time, though, go see it. I think I would like stuff like this to do well. I like Maggie Gyllenhaal. I'd like to see her make more films as well.
Yeah, that's cool.
But yeah,
I think she's pretty good.
And also, congratulations to Jessie Buckley. She won Best Actress for Hamnet. So,
woo. Yeah, congrats.
Yeah,
I can see why.
Any final thoughts on The Bride before we move on?
No, I think we can move on to other stuff, other media explorations. What are we watching, reading, exploring, consuming? Dylan, what have you been up to since our last episode?
So I have been reading Brandon Sanderson's Isles of the Ember Dark. It is another one of his sort of Kickstarter projects. It's part of it is on this like world that seems sort of like Pacific Island adjacent, maybe like small islands where they like ride canoes out to these very dangerous places and train little birds to do different abilities and stuff like that. But it also, there's like another main character. It's interesting. It's like he wrote a novella about these characters on this planet a long time ago. He wanted to write this novel that incorporates characters from the novella, so he reworked the novella into like flashbacks of book one of this novel, which I think was very interesting. But it got to a point after like 90 pages of the book where it's like, we are now following a new character. They are on a different planet. And now these stories are starting to intersect with each other a little bit. It's very interesting. And I go back and forth on what he's doing with his book series overall, because it's like there are a lot of them are in the same universe on different planets in different eras. And he's been starting to combine them more and more with each other, which as a fan of his series overall is very fun, but also it makes the books harder to recommend to people, right? Because it's like this book I'm reading now, I'm like, would I recommend it to you? No, because it's taking like characters and people from multiple different series, like people from two planets, two of his flagship series are seemingly at war in a space age now, which is very intriguing to me, but to you would probably be like, what is this? So I respect the project. He is very much like doing a literary fantasy Marvel Cinematic Universe thing. I think that's what he's kind of going for at this point, which, you know, we talk about Marvel a lot on this show. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it pans out. But other than that, continuing with the Outer Worlds 2, having a great time with it. It is a joyously miserable universe to explore. Very like dark sense of humor, hyper capitalist, like corporation controls every aspect of your life versus like a theocratic communist faction so far. And it's like,
that's cool.
It's very cool. And you're kind of like, you know, it's a role-playing game, so you can side with whoever. Like, I'm rolling my character to be like heavily good at speech and observation, which makes dialogue a lot more fun. Developed by Obsidian, the developer of Fallout New Vegas. Like, it's a very good like RPG game. I like it a lot. I'm really taking my time with it. I'm also watching the new season of Apple's Monarch: Legacy of Monsters. I talked about this early on in the show during season 1. It takes place in the Monsterverse with Godzilla and King Kong and all that stuff, but it follows like it follows just like a set of human characters who live in the world and are just like navigating it alongside this organization. Has Kurt Russell is one of the main guys in it in the modern era, and Wyatt Russell plays the same character in the 1950s. So the story is cutting between the 1950s and the semi-modern day, which is kind of fun. It's like the show's a little bit like YA CW adjacent at sometimes, I would say, in terms of the interpersonal drama they have. Like one of the characters, like two of the main characters are half siblings. One is from Tokyo, one is from San Francisco, and their dad just had like a family in each city for decades, and that's a big part of the drama of the show. It works. It's corny, but I like it a lot, and the special effects are very well done for a TV show, especially like Kong and Godzilla and all of the monsters look about as good as they do on the big screen, which for a TV show is pretty impressive. Sure. I think. It is funny though, because you can see like they spend the budget on the few moments where the monsters are on screen, and a lot of the rest of the show takes place on a big boat because they have to save the money. They built the boat set, and they can stay on the boat a lot because they only had to build it once, and they can spend the money on like the 7 or 8 shots of King Kong doing his thing. Yeah, it's a reality of that type of thing. Also, I'm watching the new season of the live action One Piece. I like it a lot. I understand why people might have some problems with it. I enjoy that it makes no attempt to be realistic in its action choreography, especially. It is just like the fights are very silly. The physics don't make any fucking sense whatsoever. But it is like we're adapting an anime and we're gonna try to make the action and the behavior of the characters as cartoony as possible. Like one of the characters will like jump and do a spin kick in the air, and as he's kicking, like his momentum stops so he can kick and land flat on the ground. It's like, okay, people will criticize that, but it's very clearly an intentional stylistic choice, and I appreciate it. I think the cast is very charismatic. It's very whimsical and fun. I enjoy it. And then lastly, I watched.
That's great.
Yeah. Lastly, I watched the Oscars on Sunday. I think it was Sunday.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. One Battle After Another won Best Picture. Paul Thomas Anderson, I think, won Best Director as well, and then Best. I think he got another one. I forgot. Sean Penn won Best Supporting. Michael B. Jordan won Best Actor for Sinners.
Oh hell yeah, that's right.
One Battle also won the first ever Best Casting award, which like it and Sinners, I think both could have taken that home because both had pretty massive casting discoveries in them, I would say. But yeah, good to see. Javier Bardem was a presenter, legend as always, came out, just straight up said, "No to war and free Palestine," and then presented an award. And I like something that moved my heart a little bit too is like I've watched the Oscars each year since this, violence in Palestine kicked up into its current iteration. And 2 years ago at the Oscars, the audience was not applauding for the phrase "free Palestine," and now they overwhelmingly are. The sentiment has shifted. Yeah. We are in a new era.
I would agree.
It is too slow and too late, but the tide is turning, and that's very heartwarming. But Niles, what have you been watching?
Well, I did not watch the Oscars, but that is wonderful to hear. We've actually finished our season 1 to season 5 complete rewatch of the Fargo series. So we rewatched all of the stories there. I love that show to death. I think season 5 is probably my favorite one out of all 5 seasons. It's a terrifying, I think I might have mentioned it on the last episode, but it's a terrifying tale of domestic abuse and trying to escape your abuser. It's really well done. There's some really fun characters in every season, but I think, there's our favorite is Uli Munk from season 5. He's fantastic. It's implied that he is that he was born in the 1500s and he's still alive today, and it's like crazy stuff goes on in it. But it's such a fun show. I love it to death, and we were really sad that we finished all 5 seasons. We were like, let's go watch the movie. Let's go watch the original Fargo movie. Just rewatch it again, see what we can pick up on. And that movie is so solid. It's so well done. But what was so fun this time about the rewatch was just picking up on like all the little ways that the show was paying homage to the movie. Like there's specific shots that are mirrored in the show, and like specific like kind of character dynamics or locations and settings or just like framing of like certain situations that just they mirror each other, and it's like poetry. It rhymes. It's very beautiful. So it's like very cool in that way. We just got to like just appreciate Fargo as a series even more from the rewatch of the movie.
Two-part question about that thing, because like season 1 is a loose adaptation of the movie, right?
Yes. Okay. Yes, correct.
And so to that point, like those echoes and like, rhymes that you mentioned, like, does that carry past season 1 as well? Like, do all the other seasons kind of rhyme with the movie in their own way? Or is it okay, that's interesting. So the plots are very different, but thematically and sort of tonally they all go back to that old movie.
Yes,
Cool.
exactly. They all kind of relate in these like the themes and like, but even just like specific shots and sequences and just like certain things. Like in season 2, they spend a lot of time up in a cabin. Like they put someone in like a trunk basically, and they drive them up to the cabin, and they're just holding that person hostage at the cabin for a few days. And that happens in the movie too, right? Like they bring a hostage up to a cabin in a remote location in the trunk, and it's completely different. Like in season 5, the way that season kicks off is there's this woman is staying at home, like who's like the main character of the season. She's just at home, and she's got all these glass windows around her in her living room, and she just sees like this guy, masked man, come up to like her like windows and starts looking in and breaks in basically. And that's an exact same scene from the movie. Like it's just, there's like specific shots like that. And like it's just beautiful. I would say season 4 is like the one that's the most disconnected from the movie. Like it's kind of its own thing entirely, so there's not as much of a reference back to the movie.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah, it's really cool. But we also watched Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Finally, amazing show. I want more of it. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's like a true like full return to form to, I'd say, peak Game of Thrones. Like I think both of us like House of the Dragon a lot. Excited for more of it this year, but that was like, it felt like a refined season 1 of Game of Thrones. Like they've mastered the storytelling in this universe to such a degree at this point. And the Hedge Knight is such a great short story too, which is what's being adapted for season 1. And yeah, so good.
It's fantastic. And I love how like it's kind of removed from like noble houses and royalty, but they're still kind of sprinkled in through this first season, but they're not like, they are integral to the story, but like it's about Dunk and it's about Egg, and that's like the heart and soul of the story. And I know season 2 is going to be entirely different. It's going to be a different short story, and it's going to have nothing to do with Targaryens, which is basically what I want. You know, I want like I might have pitched this to you before, Dylan, but what I want in a Game of Thrones series is like an anthology series. Like I want like each season to kind of explore like a different time period of Game of Thrones. Like show me like the fall, like the Doom of Valyria. Show me the Doom of Valyria one season. Show me Aegon's Conquest. Show me like something else in Dorne. I don't know. There's so much to explore. Yeah. So like I'm just glad that we're getting Night of the Seven Kingdoms, where it's kind of anthology.
Yeah, I think this will be the closest we get to something like that. Like it's the tales of Dunk and Egg, and every tale is a different story. From memory, like the supporting cast in each story is an entirely different group of people, which I'm really curious to see how people who really latched on to season 1 of this respond. It's like, we will not see Lionel Baratheon, for example, in seasons 2 or 3, or maybe ever again until like season 10 or something like that. Like it's, and that's just the nature of this story. And maybe they changed that for the television show. Like they changed a lot of things in Game of Thrones for both better and worse, I would say, depending on the change in question. But and George has given the showrunners like, I think like 10 more Dunk and Egg stories that are not written yet or not published yet. So they have a lot of material. Cool. And did you see like their plan for the show, what he wants to do with it? Like as a whole project?
I'm not quite sure. No, I don't think so.
So he wants to, and this is spoilers for Dunk and Egg so far, if you haven't seen it, or Night of the Seven Kingdoms so far, but it's like he wants to do, I think he said like 4 to 5 seasons of them as Dunk and Egg, going around the countryside, going on adventures, and then he wants to come back like 10 years later and do 4 to 5 seasons of them with Aegon as a prince. And then he wants to come back about 10 years later during Aegon the Unlikely's reign and follow them as older characters. And he said, like, the joke was like, yeah, like I'd love to have job security for 30 years, but his thing was like, it would be like the idea of following these characters through their entire lives and also mine. Like that would be a very, I could see it being a very fulfilling creative project for both the showrunners themselves, the cast, and also the audience. Like that would be pretty powerful to follow these two for their entire saga, even though like
Agreed.
the Dunk and Egg saga itself is very charming, and them going on their little adventures across the country is kind of what I'm most interested in at this point, because we do know those characters' lives from the lore of Song of Ice and Fire. Like what happens to them throughout the decades is documented and known. I won't spoil it here for those who don't know, but we know a lot about them. They're very famous people. Joffrey
absolutely.
mocks Jaime in Game of Thrones because Jaime only had a couple paragraphs in the Kingsguard book, where Sir Duncan had 4 pages.
Yes, he was quite the man.
He was quite the
so
man.
they say.
Yeah, that itself, I suppose, is a spoiler for the Tales of Dunk and Egg, but also it's in a Game of Thrones. What do you want? What do you want from me?
Yeah, exactly. So many other things have been spoiled already by Game of Thrones. If you're just paying attention to the details, like we know what happens to Rhaenyra and Aerion, Bright Flame, and everything. So I'm not mad about it.
We know what happens to Daenerys Targaryen. It was spoiled for us by the show.
No.
What a goddamn! What an ending to that.
Yeah, definitely messy.
Anyway, that'll do it for us this week.
Yes,
it's been a fun
for
time.
Listening.
Yes, thank you for watching, listening. Sorry for the little brief internet connection things we had. Hopefully, it doesn't come out too bad in the episode. But we'll be back in 2 weeks for Project Hail Mary.
Project Hail Mary.
I'm psyched. We're seeing it in IMAX tomorrow. It's gonna be great. Love it. Yay. I'm hearing really good things about it. My sister's seen it. A couple of our friends have seen it and have said nothing but positive things. So I'm quite psyched about it. So
yeah, I think it'll be neat. Looking forward to it. But yeah, thank you all for listening so much. Yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next episode of Play, Pause, Rewind. But until then, Dylan, where can people follow you online?
You can find me on Instagram at DylanD1026, on Twitter at D-Day Movies, on YouTube at D-Day Movies, and you can find me and Niles both here at Play, Pause, Rewind, and our second channel, Play, Pause, Rewind Videos. All of that's linked in the description below, by the way. Niles, where can people find you on the internet in the meantime?
You can find me here at Play, Pause, Rewind, like Dylan mentioned, but you can also find me on Instagram at NilesGotNoStyles. Yeah. I think that just about does it, but thank you again for listening. If you like the episode, please share with a friend, leave us a review. Always helps us out, and we love to see those come in sometimes. Leave us a comment, send us a message. We love it.
All right. Stay safe out there, y'all. See you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.